the world is changing. And by changing, I mean that the world is just going back. It's just going back. All the old stuff is just coming back. That's all it is. You're not going to recognize the world 15 years from now. You're not going to recognize. You're going to be like, what's going on? Somebody sent me a whole bunch of anti-Jewish memes from Twitter. Somebody sent them to me. And I look at these memes, and I'm thinking, I feel like I'm back in the 1930s again. Here, I'm going to pull up a bunch of them, and then I'll show them to you guys. But because of AI, because now anyone can just use AI to generate artwork, people are going insane with the memes. They're going insane with the digitally made propaganda machine. They're going nuts with it. They're making an excessive amount, because now, before, you had to what, right? With political cartoons, with memes, you had to make them, right? You had to make political cartoons. You had to draw out Donald Trump. You had to draw out whoever it was you didn't like. You had to go and make the meme, put the meme together, right? You had to put some work into it. Now, with AI and with AI generated imagery, you can just do whatever you want. You can make whatever the hell you want. You want to make Jews look like demons? Use AI. It does it. Now they're making AI music, AI narration. You don't even need narrators anymore. You see these. You see some of these documentaries that have come out, and you hear the narrator, and sometimes I'll hear a narrator, and I have to question if it's a human or not, because sometimes it just sounds way too perfect, and it sounds way too perfect in the inflection, right? In the consistency of the person's tone. It's just consistently the same, more so than it would be with a human narrator. But you'll hear it and you're like, that voice sounds way too crisp. And then all of a sudden you hear a little mechanical, slightly robotic sound, and it's like, she didn't know that her boyfriend was in Miami. What was that? What was that? Play that again. This is not a real human being. It sounded very human, right? It sounds very human. But then you hear that slight little robotic tone that comes out, and then it's quite clear this is an AI voice. So AI is people are going crazy with it. It's a very new thing. The idea of AI narrators, the idea of AI generated memes, AI generated music, right? All these things are very new, and so people are losing their minds. They're just going crazy with it, and it's going to continue to become more and more advanced. Right now, you can hear the slight robotic tone in some narrators, and you recognize at that point, okay, it's AI. But as the years go by, this stuff is going to become more and more advanced, and it's going to come to the point where you can either barely recognize it, or you won't be able to recognize it at all unless you're very familiar with that world, or you have a lot of insight from that industry. So, but now with AI generated imagery, I mean, the sky is the limit when it comes to propaganda, and you can spread propaganda so much faster. And the thing about memes is that they trigger a certain belief. That's what memes do. Memes trigger a certain message, or I should say that they convey a particular message in your brain, and they do so in milliseconds, right? They can do so in milliseconds. The idea of memes is nothing new. Memes have been here for a very long time. You look at any sort of propaganda poster from World War II and before that, you can see memes. People actually had to make them. They took work, but they were memes. For example, I saw this meme from World War II that shows German airplanes flying over England, and there are two Englishmen looking up at the planes, the German airplanes that are about to bomb them, and one man tells the other man, is this good enough? Is this good enough for you to support the war against Germany? Something like that. Because there were people in England who were against the war with Germany. They were for basically appeasing Hitler. And they were people who obviously were for the war. And the reason why they were for the war was because the Germans were taking over Europe. and eventually the Germans were bombing England. So you look at that poster and you see two guys looking at German airplanes that are about to bomb England, and one guy says, "Is this good enough for you?" Within a second, the message is conveyed to your head. Oh, I need to support the war effort. So memes are a very effective way. Humans react so much easier with imagery than they do with writing. Humans react so much easier with imagery than they do with writing. And emotions are triggered much quicker with imagery than they are with writing. And people know this. It's very clear with YouTube thumbnails. You look at thumbnails. I mean, back in the old school days of YouTube, which was the best years of YouTube, if you ask me, people weren't putting words on thumbnails. The thumbnail was you in front of a camera. That's what the thumbnail was, right? Back when I was in high school, when people started talking in front of cameras, they didn't put words on their thumbnails. All you saw on the thumbnail was the guy in front of the screen. Well, how would you know what the video was about? You read the title. You saw the picture. Okay, some dude talking in front of a microphone. Who cares? But then you read the title, and the title was, Why I Hate School or something like that. Oh, I'm interested. I'm going to click on it. Now, everyone is putting words on their thumbnails. Almost everybody is putting words on their thumbnails. Why? Why is that? Because we react much quicker and much easier with imagery. So we see the thumbnail before we look at the title of the video. So content creators realized, why am I focusing just on the actual title? I should be putting words on the thumbnail because that's the first thing that people are going to look at. Because we react faster and we gravitate quicker to the image than to the actual title. So people are looking at the image. Oh, they see the title on the image. Oh, okay, now you know what it's about. So memes are very, very powerful. And they're very dangerous, extremely dangerous. And you can convince more people with memes than you could with just writing. And that's why, for example, you'll see a lot of times people who are so confident in a debate all of a sudden lose in a debate, right? They're so confident before the debate, and then they debate somebody, then they lose. Why? Well, a lot of these people who are in the debate sphere are people who just look at memes. They're looking at memes. Let's say they hate immigrants, and they're like, immigrants are awful. They're destroying our country, and then they get in the debate, and they're just expressing memes, right? The migrants are like an army. They're invading us. This is an invasion. And then they'll debate someone who's actually looked at stats and looked at data, and they've read the information on the subject, and they realize that they're outmatched in the debate, and they lose the debate. Why? Because at the end of the day, as effective as memes are when it comes to influencing people, it's not the full picture. Memes are only they're someone's opinion on the picture. Memes can be half a truth. Memes can be a part of the truth or a small piece of it. Memes can be just a part of the story, but they're never the full story. So when you get someone whose ideology is based on memes versus someone who's actually looked at the data, the person whose ideology is based on memes is going to lose. But the problem is that most people don't really recognize this. They just look at memes. Oh my God, we're being invaded by immigrants, or Jews are demons. They're evil. Look at them. Look how evil Jews are. And they show you a picture of a Jew with like killing a white baby or something. It's fragmented thoughts. And this is the most destructive aspect of Twitter, things like TikTok. These platforms are destructive because they feed into our inclination for short-term memory information, right? They feed into our inclination of having short-term memories. They feed into our inclination into just getting small, easy, digestible bits of information. We as humans, we prefer easily digestible information. Why? Because it's easier. Humans will tend to go to the path of least resistance. We do this every day, right? We have to get out of bed. We don't want to get out of bed. Clean our rooms. We don't want to clean our rooms. We tend to go for the path of least resistance. And the same thing goes for information. It's not easy absorbing information. It's not easy to read a book. These things take time and they take some level of endurance. It is an exercise to read a book. Just to sit down and read a book. Try doing it, right? Sit down, read the book for an hour. Try doing that for an hour. Try doing it for 30 minutes. You'll see that it takes some work. It takes some level of effort. Now, open up your phone and watch a reel. Oh, and then guess what? Scroll up with your thumb and watch another reel and watch another reel. It's a lot easier to get stuck in that loop than it is to read a book or than it is to read an article or a series of articles. Why is that? Because we as humans are inclined towards having short-term memories. We're inclined towards just getting those easy bits of knowledge because it's easier. Simple as that. It takes a little bit of endurance to actually try to absorb information and to learn about a particular story or to learn about a particular historical event or to learn about a particular set of ideas. It takes work to do this. It takes a lot of work, actually. But because we prefer these short bursts of information, or because we prefer learning things by watching a video or watching a very short video, I should say, as opposed to watching a lecture and listening to a lecture, we leave ourselves very susceptible for manipulation. Very, very, very effective ways of manipulation. So instead of, and I'll use the example of immigration. Instead of actually looking at the full truth of immigration, and that is, well, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. There are certain people who want you to focus on this criminal who was an immigrant, or these, and then you say, well, okay, instead of saying, okay, well, are these all immigrants? Obviously not. They want you to focus on those stories. And they're short bits of information. They're not the full truth. They're short bits of information. And because we prefer more easily digestible bits of information, we'll just take those in. We'll watch memes. We'll spend hours watching memes. And so that's, the fascists on the internet, they take advantage of this, and they use shorts, and they use memes, and they use reels, and they use AI propaganda. And yeah, so our unwillingness to actually endure through the process of doing heavy reading and our inclination towards looking at short bursts of information leave us susceptible to massive manipulation.